Hello and welcome back to B School Erudite. I am Banu and this is the second video in our complete walkthrough of AQA A Level Business Specification 7131 for 2026 AS exams and A Level exams 7132 and 2027 A Level exams. In Unit 1 revision video, the previous video, we looked at what a business is, its purpose, objectives and the outside world it lives in. Now in Unit 2, we are going to inside the building. We are looking at the people who run the show. Who are they? The managers and the leaders. How do they make decisions? Actually, multiple decisions. How do they manage it? How do they handle the pressure, motivate teams and deal with angry stakeholders? By the end of this video, you will be very confident and able to analyze leadership styles, use decision trees and map stakeholders and understand the messy reality of running an organization. By the end of this video, you will be able to analyze leadership styles, use decision trees, map stakeholders, and understand the messy reality of running an organization. So grab your notebook, get comfortable. Let's clear up a massive confusion. Are managers and leaders the same thing? Comment down what you think. Not exactly. Management is about systems, control and efficiency. Managers do things right. They plan, budget, organize and make sure the trains run on time. Think of an Apple Store manager. They worry about rotas, stock levels and hitting sales targets. Leadership is about vision and inspiration. As we learned about vision and mission difference in the previous unit, vision is what you see about the future and what you can grab inspiration from. So leaders do the right things, whereas managers do the things right on what they're instructed to do. So leaders, they do the right things. They set the direction, motivate people and get them excited about where the business is going in town hall meetings and quarterly results announcements. Whenever they meet the employees or customers, their main objective is to motivate employees. Think of Steve Jobs. He didn't manage the supply chain. He imagined a phone with no buttons. A great business needs both. You can have a visionary leader with no operational grip, that's a mess. And you can have a brilliant manager with zero inspiration, that's slow death. The magic happens when you combine the two. Now let's look at the classic leadership styles. First, autocratic. The leader makes all the decisions alone. No discussion, no voting, no taking feedback. When is this good? In a crisis like a fire drill or a hospital emergency room, also in high safety environments like an aircraft carrier, but in high stress environments like a banking or a financial institution, it's more applicable. But the downside of autocratic leadership, it kills creativity. Skilled staff gets frustrated and leave the company. This is where the managers don't really be too friendly with the employees, don't give too much freedom. They actually focus more on giving the instructions and getting the work done in time. And now we look at the second one, democratic. The leader asks the team for their views before deciding. This boosts motivation and often leads to better ideas because the people closest to the problem usually know the answer. And what's the downside of this? It's slow. You take all the employees' feedback and then you come to a conclusion. So democracy is a pleasure but can also be a pain with the amount of time it takes. And now let's look at the laissez faire. This isn't one of the slide. Third is laissez faire. It means leave it alone. The leader gives total freedom to the team. Great for creative teams like a design agency or a research lab. Great for creative teams like a design agency or a research lab. But if your team is unmotivated or unskilled, it's just chaos. And the fourth we have is paternalistic. The leader acts like a parent, making decisions for the good of the employees. It's not only about profit. It's not only about revenue. It's about what's good for the employees. Still, they think they are more advisory positions. They know more about the company. They're more like a parent. It's caring but still top down. Think of a family run hotel where the owner knows everyone's name but still calls the shots. Now, we come to understand a very difficult name but easy concept, Tannenbaum and Schmidt continuum. This is one of the most useful models for understanding leadership style. Tannenbaum and Schmidt said it's not a simple choice between bossy and nice. It's a continuum. At one end, boss centered leadership, the manager tells the team what to do. No questions, that's autocratic. But move along the line. The manager sells the decision. They still decide. They explain why. And you come further along, the manager consults. They ask for input, then decide. Even further, you're trying to be extreme nice. The manager joins the group. He will say, like my ex-manager, he'll be like, I'm not your manager, you're not my subordinate, we are in a team, we are equals. The manager joins the group. They facilitate a team decision. In my recent experience 3 years ago at a HR tech company, I found such a manager. How lucky was I? And at the far end, it's a subordinate centered leadership. The team decides within limits set by the manager. That's delegation. You're totally giving all the tasks to the subordinates and managers would work together on it. This is something happens mostly in startups where the vice president of finance is also the finance intern, like one person handling everything. So what's the key insight from this? The right style depends on three things: the manager's personality, the team's ability, and the motivation, and the situation. A team of experienced nurses in an emergency room, you might want more delegation. A group of new trainees on their first day at job, you probably want to be more boss centered because you don't want to give too much freedom. If it's like university kids joining for the first job, they might be trying to act too excited, so there is a need for a boss centered leadership. This is a classic theory. This grid puts concern for people on one axis and concern for production on the other. It gives you 5 leadership styles. The first is impoverished. Low concern for both. The leader does the bare minimum. Avoids this style. You can avoid this style like a soggy sandwich. It's lazy and ineffective. The other one is produce or perish. It's high production, low people, and is task obsessed. This leader will hit the target but burn out the team. High staff turnover, low morale. Think of a ruthless call center manager. Now you have country club. You would definitely love this. It's high on people and low on production. Everyone is happy but nothing gets done. Friendly but no discipline. Like a manager who just wants to be liked but doesn't really care about the profit and revenue because it's a very stable company. You might be expecting this in companies which are very well established and are actually product based companies in tech. Now you have middle of the road, something balancing both. You have to compromise on something. This leader gets by never excels, but never excels. It's safe, but safe doesn't win prizes. And fifth we have is a team leader. It's high concern for both. The ideal, the leader pushes for results while developing the team. They set high standards and support their people. This is what you should aim for. In exams, if a case study shows a manager ignoring staff well-being to meet targets, you can label them, produce or perish, and explain the risks. Now we'll try to understand decision-making approaches, scientific versus intuitive. How do managers actually make decisions? There are two broad approaches. The first is scientific decision making. It is logical, data driven, and analytical. You gather evidence, build spreadsheets, and calculate probabilities, maybe even draw a decision tree. What's the advantage of this? It reduces risk. The disadvantage, it can be slow, expensive, and you might suffer from paralysis by analysis, waiting for perfect data that never comes. And next we have intuitive decision making, which is instinct, gut feeling, based on a hunch. A manager with years of experience can often sense the right answer without crunching numbers. That's how our grandmothers would assume how much salt and spices and seasoning is required for a dish without really measurements. So what's the advantage of this? Based on intuition, it's fast. Great in a crisis, you don't need to wait for data. But what is the disadvantage? It's biased. Your gut can be wrong and you can't justify it to be the board with a spreadsheet. And the best, your gut can be wrong and you can't justify it to the board with a spreadsheet. The best managers use both. They gather data, but they also trust their experience. As the famous management thinker Henry Mintzberg once said, strategy is not science, it's a craft. Now let's understand quantitative tools which we can use for decision making. The first is a decision tree. Decision trees are a scientific tool that forces you to think about options, probabilities, and outcomes. They look complicated, but the logic is simple, guys. A decision tree has squares, decisions you make, and circles, which are chances, events you can't control. You multiply the probability of an outcome by its financial value, then add up to get an expected value. Then you subtract the cost of the decision to get the net gain. Here's a quick example I can take you through. Imagine you run a small cafe. You're deciding whether to open on Sundays or not. You estimate a 60% chance of making €200 profit and a 40% chance of losing €50 because of staff costs, paying them salaries and wages. The expected value is 0.6 from the 60% times €200 plus 0.5 times minus 50, which you could lose. So that gives you €120 minus €20, that is €100. If the cost of opening is 0, the net gain is €100. What's positive? Go for it, because that looks very positive. The weaknesses of this, those probabilities are just guesses, and decision trees only include financial factors and mostly assumptions. They ignore things like staff morale or brand image. So use them as a guide, not as a gospel. Now we come to stakeholder mapping. We talked about stakeholders in Unit 1, who they are, what they do, why they do, what impacts them, how they impact us. Now we are going to manage them. Mendelow's matrix is your tool. You map stakeholders on two axes. Power, how much can they influence the business, and interest, how much do they really care about your business. So high power and high interest are key players. You must fully engage and satisfy them. Example, a major shareholder in a PLC. They have high power but also high interest. Now we look at another, high power, low interest. Keep them satisfied. Don't bother them with small stuff, but keep them happy on a big issues. For example, a government regulator who only cares if you break the law and if you don't pay the taxes. And third is a low power but high interest. Keep them informed. They can't force change, but they can make noise. Example, local residents near a factory. You should talk to them regularly if they're facing any problems with the pollution or a sound or let's say anything else. Now low power and also low interest, minimal effort, don't even care about them. They're a stakeholder, just monitor them. Example, a small supplier that you rarely use. This matrix is gold for exam case studies. When a business faces a decision, you can use Mendelow's to recommend which stakeholders to prioritize. Now let's look at stakeholders want different things that causes conflict. How do you manage it? First, proactive communication. Explain the logic of your decisions early before rumors start. When a factory is closing, tell employees first, not the newspaper. And don't let the newspaper say to everyone in the world without you telling your employees first. Second, negotiation and compromise. Find middle ground. If residents are worried about airport noise, offer to soundproof their homes. It's cheaper than a lawsuit and losing your goodwill. Third, prioritization. Use Mendelov. You can't please everyone, so focus on high power stakeholders primarily. And then, most important, focus on long-term relationships. It's more difficult to get a new customer than trying to please an unsatisfied customer. So build trust before a crisis. If you've treated suppliers fairly for years, they'll be more understanding when you hit a cash flow problem. And conflict isn't always bad. It can surface hidden problems and lead to better solutions, but ignoring it is a recipe for disaster. Every decision has a cost, not just the money you spend, but the value of the next best alternative you give up. That's opportunity cost. Imagine you have £1 million. You can either invest it in a new factory or spend it on marketing campaign for your existing factory. If you choose the factory, the opportunity cost is the extra sales you could have made from the campaign, and vice versa. Trade-offs are everywhere. More speed might mean less quality. Higher profits mean lower staff well-being. Recognizing trade-offs is a key skill for managers. In your exams, when you recommend a strategy, always acknowledge what's being sacrificed. That's the opportunity cost and the trade-off. Now let's look at the management decisions and the influences people have on it. First, the influences are internal and external. Managers don't decide in a vacuum. Two sets of factors push and pull on them. First is an internal influences. The company culture. Is this a risk-taking startup or a cautious bank which want to play it safe? Or a leadership style? Does the boss autocratically decide or consult the team? And resources. Do you have the money, time, and people to pull it off? Fourth, ethics. Law can be different from one country to another, but ethics are universal. Is what you believe in integrity. Does the firm have a moral compass? Next, let's look into the external influences. The first is an economic climate. A recession, a tariffs pushes you towards cost cutting. A boom might encourage expansion. Competitive actions. If your rival, your competitor, launches a new product, you might need to respond fast or you might lose the market share. Third, legal and ethical regulations. New laws on data privacy or minimum wage change the calculus. A good manager scans both internal and external environments before making a move. A good manager scans both internal and external environment before making a move. Now let's look at a case study of KFC, the crisis management scenario. Let's bring this to life like in 2018. I know you all are like small kids back in 2018. So KFC switched its UK delivery contract to DHL, a delivery partner. It's a disaster. The new logistics team failed and the system failed. Hundreds of KFC outlets ran out of chicken. The finger licking good company had no chicken. Imagine the memes on them. CEO Tony Lovings had a choice. Hide behind the corporate statements and play it politically correct or do something different. He chose honesty and humor. He ran a full-page apology ad with the letters FCK. That's deliberate. It was bold, funny, and human, and Gen Z. He also empowered local store managers to explain the situations directly to customers. And what's the result of this? Instead of destroying the brand, the crisis actually improved KFC's reputation. People admired the transparency. The lesson here, in a crisis, authenticity and speed matter more than a perfect legal statement. Let me know in the comments what you would have done if you were the CEO of KFC and the chicken ran out of stock. What would you have done? Had I been there, probably I would be selling something else. If it's an Indian shop, if it's a KFC in India, I would have been selling some potato crisps, just the French fries. We vegetarians would just go just with that. So next, let's look at the case study of Shell and Brent Spar. The next case study, Shell and Brent Spar. It's totally opposite, a company that ignored stakeholders. In 1995, Shell wanted to dispose of the Brent Spar, a massive oil storage buoy. By sinking it in the North Atlantic, they had government permission. They had done environmental studies. But Greenpeace disagreed. They launched a global protest. Consumers boycotted Shell. Petrol stations across Europe. Governments, including Germany, put pressure on Shell. Despite having the legal right to sink the buoy, Shell was forced to reverse its decision and eventually dismantled it on the land. What's the lesson here? Please comment down below what you think Shell would have done had it been led by you. Stakeholder power can exceed legal rights. That's the lesson we learn here. In the age of social media, a boycott can go viral overnight. Shell learned that the hard way. Now let's look at another example, which is a more positive scenario of Microsoft. In 2014, Microsoft was seen as a dinosaur. In 2014, Microsoft was seen as a dinosaur. Bureaucratic, slow, and stuck in the past glory. Then Satya Nadella became CEO. He didn't change just one thing. He didn't just change the strategy. He changed the culture. He shifted from a know-it-all culture where everyone trying to be the smartest in the room, coming from Harvard, Stanford, IIT, BITS. That's actually the truth. But still, not feeling like they have all the knowledge to give all the right answers, but they want to show they have the right intelligence to ask the right questions. So from a know culture to a learn it all culture is curiosity and growth mindset instead of acting like you know it all. So he embraced open source software, something the old Microsoft would have never done. He bought LinkedIn and GitHub, major acquisitions, transforming Microsoft into a cloud and AI powerhouse today. What's the result? Microsoft's market value tripled. Nadella's leadership shows that cultural change isn't soft and fluffy. It's a hard strategic lever for success. Now let's look at the ethical practices. How do businesses actually put ethics into practice? There are 4 ways. Adopt codes of ethics and ethics committees, written rules, and a group of people to check decisions. Many large firms have a chief ethics officer. And second, pursue B Corp certification. B Corps are legally required to consider all stakeholders, not just shareholders. It's a tough certification, but it signals genuine commitment. Implement fair trade sourcing, paying suppliers in developing countries a fair price, not just the market minimum. This improves lives and builds a positive brand image. Fourth, prioritize customer safety over short-term profits. The infamous Ford Pinto case in the 1970s, where Ford calculated it was cheaper to buy lawsuits than fix a dangerous fuel tank, is a lesson in what not to do. Ethics isn't just about being nice. It's about avoiding catastrophic reputational damage and building long-term trust for the future, for the benefit of the company, for the long-term relationships. You need long-term trust. Now we come to the era of big data. We live in a world of big data, massive data sets that can be analyzed to find patterns and predict behavior of your customers, your employees, or all the stakeholders. How does this affect decision making? The first, we have strategic advantages. We can predict demand. Amazon knows what you want before you do based on your buying behavior. Personalized marketing. Spotify discovers weekly playlists for you and what songs you might enjoy based on what you're doing, what song you heard before this, what mood you are in. So evidence-based decisions, no more gut guesses. You're getting more scientific with this, with more data. And what are the risks and limitations of this? Data privacy backlash. If you misuse customer data, you'll get fined and shamed. There are regulatory bodies like GDPR in Europe which are trying to avoid the data doesn't get leaked or misused. As we remember the scenario of Cambridge Analytica and Facebook, where the data was leaked and there was a lot of bashing going around. And information overload. Too much data can cause paralysis by analysis. You spend so long looking at the dashboard that you miss the opportunity. And third, over-reliance on models. In a crisis like COVID-19, as you all remember, it was not too long ago, historical data was useless. Models failed, systems failed. Sometimes you need human judgment. Big data is a tool, not a magic wand that you can just wave it wherever you want and expect magics to happen. Use it wisely. And now we come to the last concept of today's revision of entire unit 2, that change is hard. Carter's 8 steps for leading. Change is difficult because people resist. John Carter gave us an 8-step model to make change stick. Let's run through them. First is create a sense of urgency. Help everyone see why change is needed now and not later. Build a guiding coalition. Get a powerful team of leaders to champion the change. Third, form a strategic vision for the future. Make the destination clear and inspiring. I'm talking about being clear and the light is beaming on me. Communicate the vision. Talk about it constantly in every meeting, every email. Remove barriers. Get rid of obstacles, whether they are processes, systems, or people. Create short-term wins. Celebrate early successes to build momentum. And also, build on the change. Don't stop. Use credibility from wins to tackle bigger changes tomorrow. Anchor the change in culture. Make it the way we do things around here. If a manager from Google joins Goldman Sachs as a manager, he or she has to adopt to the Goldman Sachs standards and the culture, not really wanting to put the Google's laissez faire culture. He might have to or she might have to take it to the autocratic way. So you will fail if you skip these steps. If you rush, you will fail. Carter's model is a roadmap. Use it wisely. And now we look into on how do you get top marks in Unit 2. Use these models we discussed. If a question asks about leadership style, reference Tannenbaum and Schmidt or Blake Mouton. If it asks about stakeholders, draw Mendelow's matrix. Examiners love it when you name the model. Apply to the case study. Don't just define autocratic leadership. Explain why it's appropriate for that specific crisis in the case. Analyze chains of reasoning. Because X happened leading to Y, therefore Z. Connect cause and effect, the need and the gratification. What's pushing it and what's getting pulled. So evaluate with context. It depends on this situation, so this could happen. For a creative agency, laissez faire might work. For a nuclear power plant, autocratic is safer. Always say it depends and explains on what and why it depends. And that's Unit 2. You now understand the difference between management and leadership, the styles, the decision tools, the stakeholder maps, and how to lead change in this 30 minutes video. Practice those decisions tree calculations. Memorize Carter's 8 steps. And when you study, face a case study. Ask yourself, who has the power? What's the opportunity cost? What would Nadella do? What would I do if I'm in that place? Try to show empathy to the leaders. Only then you can understand management and decision making. You won't learn football by just seeing what Ronaldo and Messi are doing. Only if you practice what would I do if I am in that position in that specific game, you might be doing it like Zlatan and having your independent way of doing things. So I am Bhanu Sivakrishna from B School Erudite, and let's meet again in Unit 3 Marketing. Please subscribe if you like this content, and also find my contact details below. If you want to benefit from personal tutoring or you want to ask me some questions, you can comment down, or you can just email me or find me on LinkedIn. We can connect. And I can also mention the WhatsApp community where we can connect and discuss the marketing trends happening in the world. And let's move to Unit 3 Marketing very soon in the next video. See you. Good luck with the exams.